The Santiago Bernabéu has seen defeats before. But some losses echo louder than others. Real Madrid's setback against Manchester City in the Champions League did more than hurt their European ambitions. It reignited an old, familiar debate inside the club: the future of the man on the bench. Xabi Alonso arrived in Madrid carrying the aura of a rising elite coach, fresh off a historic Bundesliga triumph with Bayer Leverkusen. His appointment symbolized renewal, modern football, and long-term vision. But at Real Madrid, vision is only protected by results. And right now, the margin for patience is shrinking. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere has changed. What was once described as a project is now being described as an evaluation. And at the center of those conversations, one name has quietly returned to the top of Florentino Pérez's list: Zinedine Zidane. If you want the full picture behind this story, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Like if you think Real Madrid changes coaches too quickly. Comment the city you're watching from. Let's see where Madrid's global pressure really comes from. Your interaction decides what comes next. The defeat to Manchester City was not just another loss in Europe. Inside Valdebebas, it was treated as a warning sign. Performance issues that had been tolerated in domestic competition became impossible to ignore on the Champions League stage, where Real Madrid measures itself against the very best. According to sources close to the club, the board's concern is not limited to the result, but to patterns. Irregular performances, difficulty controlling key moments of matches, and an inability to consistently impose authority against top-level opponents have raised questions about whether the current trajectory aligns with Madrid's standards. Xabi Alonso remains respected internally. His tactical knowledge, leadership style, and connection with younger players are all valued. But respect at Real Madrid does not equal immunity. Florentino Pérez is known for separating emotional attachment from institutional priorities, and the current assessment reflects exactly that. The upcoming La Liga match against Alaves has therefore taken on unusual importance. Officially, it is just another league fixture. Unofficially, it is being viewed as a potential turning point. Not because a single match defines a season, but because it reveals direction, response, and control. Executives want to see clarity. They want to see a team that reacts with conviction after disappointment. They want to see tactical coherence, emotional stability, and leadership under pressure. A win alone may not be enough. The manner of that win matters. Xabi's record so far, 28 matches, 19 wins, 4 draws, 5 defeats, is statistically solid. But statistics are only part of the story. The absence of silverware, combined with visible fluctuations in performance, has reopened a discussion many believed was postponed until the end of the season. This is where Florentino Pérez's contingency planning comes into focus. The Real Madrid president rarely acts impulsively, but he always prepares. And as scrutiny on Xabi Alonso increases, Pérez has ensured that alternative scenarios are already mapped out. Names have been discussed. Profiles evaluated. Availability assessed. Among all those options, one stands above the rest. Not because of nostalgia. Not because of popularity. But because of trust. Zinedine Zidane represents certainty in an environment allergic to doubt. His previous success at the club, his ability to manage egos, and his unmatched Champions League pedigree make him, in Pérez's eyes, the safest emergency solution if stability must be restored quickly. This does not mean a decision has been made. No official move has been initiated. Xabi Alonso remains in charge, and the club continues to publicly back him. But internally, the situation is no longer theoretical. It is active monitoring. The match against Alaves will not decide everything, but it will influence how quickly certain conversations accelerate. For Xabi Alonso, the challenge is clear. Transform pressure into performance and questions into answers. Because at Real Madrid, silence from the board is not reassurance. It is preparation. Inside Real Madrid, silence is rarely accidental. When public statements emphasize calm, unity, and long-term vision, it often masks an internal environment where scenarios are being actively mapped. This is precisely the situation following the recent Champions League defeat at the Santiago Bernabéu, a result that did more than eliminate margin for error. It altered the internal temperature around Xabi Alonso's project. Florentino Pérez is not a president who reacts emotionally to isolated defeats. His decision-making is strategic, layered, and historically consistent. However, he is also known for acting decisively when performance trends threaten the club's competitive identity. The current debate is not about panic, it is about preparedness. According to reports circulating in Spain and across Europe, Florentino Pérez already has a contingency framework in place should the sporting situation deteriorate further. At the center of that framework stands a familiar and powerful name: Zinedine Zidane. Zidane's profile is unique within Real Madrid. Unlike external candidates who would require time, institutional adaptation, and public justification, Zidane represents immediate legitimacy. His previous tenure delivered Champions League dominance, domestic titles, and, perhaps most importantly, stability in moments of extreme pressure. For Florentino Pérez, that history carries exceptional weight. The French coach has been without a club since his departure in 2021. During this period, he has repeatedly declined opportunities, maintaining a low public profile while remaining deeply connected to football's elite circles. Sources close to Zidane have consistently stated that Real Madrid remains the only project capable of interrupting his self-imposed hiatus without extensive negotiation. From the club's perspective, Zidane offers three decisive advantages. First, his authority inside the dressing room is unquestionable. He understands how to manage global superstars, young talents, and internal hierarchies without destabilizing the group. Second, his tactical pragmatism aligns with Real Madrid's results-first culture, particularly in European competition. Third, his institutional familiarity eliminates transitional risk. This does not mean that Zidane is being actively contacted or that Xabi Alonso's position is formally compromised. What it means is that Real Madrid has already identified the fastest path back to stability if continuity becomes untenable. Beyond Zidane, Florentino Pérez's list includes names of contrasting profiles. Jurgen Klopp is admired for his intensity, leadership, and transformative work in elite leagues. His ability to impose a clear identity and rebuild squads has earned respect at Valdebebas. However, Klopp's current involvement in football management within the Red Bull structure complicates any immediate return to full-time coaching, particularly mid-season. Financial and structural barriers also remain significant. Álvaro Arbeloa represents a fundamentally different option. As a former Real Madrid player and current Castilla coach, he embodies institutional continuity. Arbeloa is valued internally for his discipline, tactical clarity, and commitment to youth development. While not seen as a headline appointment, he is viewed as a controlled, low-risk alternative capable of stabilizing the environment if the club opts for an internal solution. Despite these alternatives, Zidane remains the reference point, not as a negotiation but as a benchmark. His presence in the background shapes how the club evaluates the present. For Xabi Alonso, this context transforms every fixture into a statement. His arrival at Real Madrid followed a historic Bundesliga winning campaign with Bayer Leverkusen, where his